Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a close look at Nigeria using newspaper headlines from May 27th, 2025 as our guide.
Right. And we've also got some historical facts and interesting quote to add a bit more context.
Exactly. The idea is to go beyond just the headlines, to really dig into what these stories tell us about Nigeria right now, where it's heading, the challenges, all of that.
It's a real mix today, isn't it? We've got big infrastructure plans, economic news, social issues popping up, and, of course, plenty of politics. It'll be interesting to see how it all connects.
Yeah, and to help connect those dots, we have our Did You Know bit for some global trivia and Today in History to give us that longer view. It's all about seeing the present clearly.
Makes sense.
Okay, let's get started. First up, infrastructure and the economy. This planned inauguration of the Lagos-Calabar Highway, Section 1. That sounds pretty major.
It really does. Big transport projects like this, linking Lagos and Calabar, they're often signals of serious development focus.
Right. Connectivity.
Exactly. If Section 1 opens on schedule, it could be a huge boost for moving goods, for people traveling, lower costs, more economic activity along that whole route, potentially.
You have to wonder about the execution, though, right? Keeping these massive projects on track.
That's always the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Timely completion would definitely be a positive sign for project management. Yeah.
Okay, then there's this slightly strange story. The FCTA, that's the Federal Capital Territory Administration running Abuja, apparently shut down some big headquarters. Yeah, the PDP, the main opposition party, FIRS, the tax agency, and NAPTIP, the anti-trafficking agency, all over unpaid ground rent.
Wow, okay. That's unusual for the FCTA to go after federal-level bodies like FIRS and a major political party like the PDP.
It seems bold.
It really does. It throws up questions about, who has authority over what, enforcing rules even on powerful players, and maybe questions about the finances of those organizations, too.
And it wasn't just government agencies. The PDP headquarters being included is interesting.
Very. These kinds of disputes over land and who's in charge can get quite tricky, historically speaking.
And sticking with shutdowns for a moment, there's also news about a refinery being temporarily closed. And workers apparently told not to talk to the press.
That immediately raises flags, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Lack of transparency.
Right. What's going on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is it technical? Maintenance. Something else entirely. Without clear information, you get speculation, and it's hard to know the impact on fuel supplies or the economy.
Okay, switching gears to something more positive. Dangote is forecasting Nigeria could earn, get this, $7 million a day from fertilizer exports.
$7 million daily. That's a huge number.
Isn't it? Sounds like a massive potential boost.
It really does. If that holds up, it suggests a major ramp-up in production. Nigeria potentially shifting from importing fertilizer to becoming a major exporter.
Which helps the trade balance.
Definitely. Exports up, imports down. Plus, it supports local farming, right? Easier access to fertilizer. You'd want to know what's driving that growth forecast, though, and if it's sustainable.
Makes sense. And still on trade, Nigeria is reportedly opening an air corridor to southern Africa. The goal is to cut export costs by 75%.
75%. That's drastic.
Yeah, sounds like you could really shake things up for exporters.
Absolutely. Transport costs are a huge barrier.
Yeah.
If they can genuinely slash them that much with this air corridor, Nigerian products suddenly become way more competitive in southern Africa.
More exports, stronger regional ties.
Potentially, yes. I'd be curious about the details. How exactly does this corridor work to achieve those savings?
Good question. Okay, let's circle back to that FIRS shutdown story. Now, FIRS is apparently demanding an apology from the FCTA. They're calling the office closure an invasion.
So it's escalated.
Seems like it. From unpaid rent to a full-on interagency fight.
It just shows how these administrative things can blow up, doesn't it? FIRS demanding an apology suggests they feel the FCTA really overstepped. These kinds of conflicts aren't helpful for smooth governance. No, definitely not. Okay, moving on. News from the central bank governor, mention of a panel set up to develop and allocate 753 duplexes.
753, wow, that's quite specific.
And separately, payments starting for wage award arrears for federal workers. So housing and worker pay.
Right, sounds like government efforts on, social and economic fronts. Housing on that scale could make a difference for some. And paying wage arrears, that's good for worker morale, maybe boost spending a bit too.
You'd want to know who gets those duplexes, though, and how quickly the wage arrears get fully paid out.
Precisely. The details matter.
Looking further ahead, Nigeria seems to be eyeing the global avocado market. Apparently, it's worth $23 billion.
Avocados. Interesting. That market has exploded globally, hasn't it?
It really has.
So Nigeria targeting that shows some forward thinking on diversifying the economy, using its agricultural potential for a high-value crop. Smart move, potentially.
And we're seeing growth signals in Nigerian tech, too. Remedia's System Specs is planning to expand across Africa. That's a great sign. Nigerian tech firms developing solutions that work continent-wide shows the sector's maturing, becoming more competitive, contributes to that whole digital transformation story across Africa.
Also, on the finance side, the Development Bank of Nigeria, DBN, has reportedly disbursed N$273.4 billion, and they're rewarding banks involved.
Okay, so the DBN is actively pushing funds towards development projects. That's its job, of course. Rewarding the commercial banks for participating, that encourages more lending for these kinds of initiatives. It's a collaborative approach.
And finally, on the economic front, NHCO, the aviation handling company, is aiming for a N$300 billion turnover in 5 years.
N$300 billion, that's ambitious.
Very. Shows a lot of confidence in the future of aviation, air cargo in Nigeria.
Yeah, they need significant investment and expansion to hit that kind of target, you'd think.
Okay, let's shift focus. Education and social issues now. JAMB, the University Admissions Board, has a new rule. If you resit the UTME exam, you can't use your first score.
Ooh, okay. That could have a big impact on students.
How so, do you think?
Well, on one hand, maybe it pushes students to take the first attempt more seriously, aims for exam integrity. But on the other hand, less of a safety net, more pressure, especially if something went wrong the first time. Needs to understand the why behind it, really.
Yeah. Then there's this really stark statistic, experts calling 18.3 million out-of-school children a ticking time bomb.
18.3 million, that number is just staggering and deeply worrying.
It's hard to even comprehend.
It is. The long-term impact for those kids, for the country. Poverty, unemployment, instability. It hinders everything. Getting to the root causes of why they're out of school has to be a massive priority.
On a much happier note, the First Lady awarded N$25 million to an autistic teenager who achieved a Guinness World Record.
Oh, that's wonderful. Great story, isn't it?
Fantastic. It's brilliant recognition for the individual, obviously, but it also does so much for awareness and inclusion. Challenging stereotypes around autism. Really positive.
Then we have NAFDAC, the Food and Drug Agency, warning against incitement by a social media influencer. Highlights the power of online platforms, doesn't it? And the potential dangers.
For sure.
If NAFDAC is issuing a warning, it suggests the influencer's content might have been genuinely risky, maybe for public health. Shows regulators are having to watch the online space very closely now.
In Kano State, there's praise for the payment of N$2.24 billion in students' fees.
That's a significant amount. Seems like a positive step for education access there.
Reducing the financial burden.
Exactly. Could help keep more kids in school in Kano. State-level investment like that can make a real difference on the ground.
Then, unfortunately, some grim news from Avia State. A couple arrested for alleged child trafficking, and 12 children rescued.
Oh, that's horrific. Just awful.
A stark reminder this is still happening.
It really is a terrible violation. It's good the children were rescued, of course, but it underlines the constant need for vigilance, for prevention, for protecting vulnerable kids.
And on Law and Order, a very troubling report from Kano again. 27 people arrested after a mob killed a divisional police officer, a DPO.
A mob killing a police officer. Yes. Deeply concerning. Points to a serious breakdown somewhere.
Trust issues, rule of law.
Potentially both. Mob justice is incredibly dangerous. It suggests people don't trust the official system to deliver justice, which is a critical problem. Community-police relations must be incredibly strained there.
The broader security picture seems quite patchy, too. Police rescues in Abuja and Jigawa, which is good. But then a policeman and others killed by gunmen in Benue, a kidnapping in Abuja.
It really paints a picture of diverse threats, doesn't it? Banditry, kidnapping in some places, this farmer-herder violence like in Benue. It's complex, needs more than just policing, you'd think. Socioeconomic factors must play a part.
And maybe the most alarming, a reported suicide bombing inside a military barracks in Abuja.
Inside a barracks, that's extremely serious.
Raises huge questions about security, doesn't it?
Absolutely, a major breach. Shows the persistent threat from extremists, even in the capital, potentially within secure zones. Requires a very serious response and investigation.
Okay, let's move into the political arena. President Tinubu is heading to Lagos for the ECOWAS 50th anniversary celebration.
Right, ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States. Nigeria's always been a major player there.
So this trip underlines that role.
Definitely. Attending a big milestone like the 50th anniversary shows Nigeria's continued commitment to the regional bloc, its influence.
Interesting political maneuvering also reported Tinubu apparently pausing property revocations started by the FCT minister, Wyke, giving the PDP and others a 14-day grace period.
That's intriguing. Pausing Wyke's actions.
Oh, wow.
What could that mean?
De-escalation, a review.
Could be either. Maybe trying to cool political tempers, or maybe taking a closer look at how those revocations were being handled. Could also just be smart politics, managing perceptions.
Also on the president's agenda, talks with Governor Zulum of Borno State about deploying forest guards to help fight the insurgency.
That makes sense. Zulum knows Borno's security situation inside out. Collaborating with him, tailoring the strategy, deploying forest guards could be part of enhancing local security, getting better intel.
Vice President Shatima made a statement saying institutional reforms will fix 80% of bureaucratic problems.
80%? That's quite optimistic.
Ambitious target.
Very. But look, tackling bureaucracy is vital. Less red tape means better services, less corruption, easier to do business. If reforms could achieve anything close to that, it'd be a massive improvement in governance.
In the legislature, the Speaker of the House, Abbas, apparently withdrew a bill for compulsory voting. Said it was due to pressure.
Oh, democracy in action, perhaps.
Shows public opinion matters.
It does. Shows the lawmakers listen to feedback. If the public pushback was strong enough to make them pull the bill, that's significant.
Then there's a trial of lawyers accused of trying to mislead the Attorney General of the Federation.
That touches on legal ethics, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to mislead the country's top lawyer.
Serious stuff.
Very. The integrity of the legal system is fundamental. Trials like this are important for upholding standards in the profession, maintaining public trust.
Speaking of trials, the one involving former Anambra Governor Obiano alleged N4 billion fraud seems to have stalled because the judge wasn't available.
That's frustrating. Delays in big corruption cases like this, it doesn't help public confidence, does it?
Yeah.
Makes people wonder if powerful figures will ever really be held accountable, need the system to run smoothly.
On the other hand, a court sentenced a man to death for that Kano Mosque arson attack.
Right. A very strong sentence. Shows the courts taking acts of, well, extreme violence and religious intolerance very seriously. A potential deterrent, maybe?
And a court dismissed a N20 million rights lawsuit against the ICPC, the anti-corruption agency.
Okay, so that's a legal outcome affecting how these anti-graft bodies operate. These kinds of challenges test the boundaries of their powers and the rights of people being investigated.
The EFCC, another anti-corruption agency, announced they've recovered some money and made arrests in something called the CBEX fraud case.
Good. Shows they're active. Getting results and tackling financial crime. Recovering stolen funds, making arrests. That's what people want to see. Important for financial system integrity.
We also heard, via Senator Baziru, that President Tinubu is committed to reevaluating public policies for better results.
That sounds sensible. Policies shouldn't be set in stone, right?
Needs to be adaptable.
Exactly. Regularly reviewing things, seeing what works, what doesn't, using data to make changes. That's just good governance. Shows a willingness to improve.
Inside the PDP, sounds like there might be some internal discussions happening. Governors and the Board of Trustees reconvening because a key meeting, the NEC, stalled.
Internal party politics. Happens all the time, of course. But a stalled NEC meeting needing other bodies to step in, yeah, could signal some significant disagreements or maybe strategy debates within the main opposition.
Campaign season is warming up in Anambra, it seems. President Tinubu presented the APC party flag to their candidate for the governorship polls.
Yep, that's a key symbolic moment. The official stamp of approval, kicking the campaign into high gear for the APC in Anambra.
And predictably, the PDP is hitting back hard about their headquarters being sealed by the FCTA, calling it a brazen abuse of power.
Unsurprising reaction. Highlights those partisan tensions we see. Accusations like that, it shows how easily these things can escalate the conflict between the parties.
The Labour Party coalition also put out a statement, backing Peter Obi fully.
Right, reinforcing their position, showing solidarity within that political grouping, important for coalition unity.
And looking even further ahead to 2027, the APC UK chapter is reportedly already backing Tinubu for a second term and Basiru for the Osun governorship.
Wow, endorsements starting early.
Getting the groundwork laid, maybe.
Could be. Even from diaspora chapters, it's a signal, a show of confidence, trying to build momentum early on.
Countering that, perhaps, an anti-Tinubu coalition claims the North will unveil its own candidate and party soon.
Okay, now that could shake things up significantly. A new northern-focused platform. that could really redraw the political map heading towards the next election cycle. Offer voters new choices.
In Ekiti State, Governor Oyebanji is reportedly motivated by second-term endorsements to do more.
That makes sense. Getting that vote of confidence can give a leader fresh impetus, a stronger mandate to push their agenda.
Some state-level shakeups, too. Imo State Governor Uzodimma apparently sacked his attorney general.
Changes in key posts like the AG often signals a shift, doesn't it? New policy direction, different priorities, maybe just a change in the governor's team strategy.
In Niger State, Governor Begao launched a 20-year development plan and warned off land grabbers.
A 20-year plan shows long-term vision. And tackling land grabbing, that's crucial for development for rule of law, stopping illegal stuff that holds things back.
Governor Zulum in Borno, again, vowing no local council area will fall to insurgents. Strong words.
Very strong, especially given the context in Borno. It's about reassuring people, showing determination to maintain security despite the huge challenges they face.
And Governor Aliya Mbenyu expressing outrage over the killing of a policeman and many villagers, allegedly by herders.
Just tragic. Another awful incident highlighting that farmer-herder conflict shows the urgent need for real solutions to stop the violence in Benue.
Governor Ubasani in Kaduna commissioned a road project in Kagarko, apparently breaking a 20-year wait.
Finishing a project stalled for 2 decades, that's a tangible win. Huge impact locally, you'd imagine. Better transport maybe helps the economy there, builds trust too, showing government can deliver.
The Yobe State Assembly is working on tackling flooding.
Good. Environmental challenges like flooding need proactive responses, especially in vulnerable states like Yobe. Taking legislative action is important.
Plateau State approved N2 billion for rural roads.
Another state investing in rural infrastructure. Better roads mean better connections, easier to move goods, improves rural life overall.
Kano state government led prayers for Emir Sanusi's anniversary.
Interesting. Shows the continued relevance and symbolic importance of traditional rulers and the links between state government and those institutions.
And a slightly weird one from Niger State, the government accusing a radio station of cloning the governor's voice.
Cloning a voice. Wow. That raises all sorts of concerns about deepfakes and misinformation, doesn't it?
Scary potential.
Very. Shows the challenges of this digital age. Need for media literacy, fact-checking becomes even more critical.
Ogun State is gearing up for the Ojud Oba Festival.
A big cultural event. Important for heritage, community spirit. Often good for tourism, too.
Lagos State is busy, too. Plans for a new building code, urban development policy, and launching something called the CIP program.
Makes sense for Lagos. A megacity needs strong rules for building for urban planning to manage growth, ensure safety, try and make it sustainable.
Lagos also issued a traffic advisory for the ECOWAS summit. Practical necessity.
Yep. Hosting big international events means managing logistics like traffic flow. Gotta keep things moving.
And Lagos is relocating the Okobaba plank market.
Relocating a big market like that's a major undertaking. Big impact on the traders, the community. Needs careful handling, you'd hope.
Finally, on state news, the Elephant of Oyo congratulated the new Owa Obokun of Igisa land.
Right. Another nod to those traditional leadership structures and their transitions, important within those communities.
Okay, let's look outwards now. International relations. About 6,000 African Development Bank delegates are meeting to elect a new president.
That's a big deal. The AFDB is crucial for funding development across Africa. Who leads it matters for the bank's priorities, how it engages with countries like Nigeria.
Then there's this report about Saudi Arabia barring Sheikh Gumi, the Nigerian cleric, from the Hajj pilgrimage.
That's potentially controversial. Raises questions about, well, international religious freedom, travel rules. The reasons behind such bans can be complex: security, politics.
And a very sad story from the Philippines. A Nigerian reportedly shot dead at a birthday party.
Oh, that's terrible. Just awful. A reminder of risks faced abroad and the importance of consular support when things go wrong.
Following his reported Hajj barring, Sheikh Gumi is urging the Nigerian government to stand up for Nigerians' rights abroad.
Understandable call. A push for stronger diplomatic protection for citizens facing issues overseas.
On a more positive international note, the Nigeria's Sovereign Investment Authority, the NSIA, hosted reps from 15 other African sovereign funds.
Okay, that's interesting. Suggests growing collaboration between Africa's sovereign wealth funds, sharing ideas, maybe even joint investments down the line. Good for managing national wealth across the continent.
And as we mentioned, President Tinubu heading to Lagos for those ECOWAS 50th celebrations really anchors Nigeria's regional role.
Absolutely. Reinforces that historical leadership position within West Africa.
Quick look at sports and culture. SWAN, the Sports Writers Association, hailed Kunle Sonim of Remo Stars for their historic league win.
Great achievement for Remo Stars. Winning the NPFL title shows the league is getting more competitive. Good for Nigerian football.
And Augustin Oshodi is running for re-election as ITTF Executive Vice President. That's international table tennis.
Shows Nigerian involvement not just in playing, but in the actual governance of international sports bodies. Important presence.
Right, time for our Did You Know facts. Mexico having the largest Spanish-speaking population, more than Spain. Kind of surprising.
It is, isn't it? Really highlights the huge reach of Spanish in the Americas and Mexico's demographic weight.
And everyone having a unique tongue print, like fingerprints.
Fascinating bit of biology. Just underscores how unique we all are, down to the smallest details.
And today in history, a massive one for Nigeria. 1967, General Gowon creates 12 states.
Absolutely pivotal moment. Fundamentally changed Nigeria's structure, the balance of power, a response to the crises of that time with really long-lasting effect. And globally, 1937, the Golden Gate Bridge opened in San Francisco. Iconic. Still an amazing symbol of engineering, human achievement.
Finally, our quote today is from Albert Schweitzer. Life becomes harder for us when we live for others, but it also becomes richer and happier.
That's a thoughtful one. Connects to a lot of what we've discussed, doesn't it?
It seems to. Government efforts for welfare, tackling social problems, individual dedication.
Right. It speaks to that idea of service, of community, suggesting that while helping others takes effort, it ultimately brings deeper rewards, makes society better. A powerful idea.
So wrapping up this deep dive into Nigeria through these May 2025 headlines, well, it's definitely a complex picture.
It really is. You see signs of progress, big ambitions in infrastructure, economy, but alongside that, really serious, persistent challenges in security, social issues, and always that dynamic political scene.
The sheer range of stories just hits home how multifaceted Nigeria is right now.
Exactly. And hopefully, by digging into these connections, we've offered a bit more than just the news headlines, a slightly deeper sense of the forces at play.
So that leaves us with our final thought for you, the listener. Considering everything we've touched on today, the progress, the setbacks, the opportunities, the challenges, what single area do you think holds the most critical potential to really shift Nigeria's future in a positive way? And maybe what specific steps in that area could make the biggest difference?
Definitely something to ponder. A lot to think about there.
It is. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.